Hello everybody, Water here. Welcome to this episode of my Oxygen Not Included Let's Play series with the Spaced Out DLC. Last time we finally automated our oxygen production, but the food supplies are still occasionally dipping into the red, which is mostly due to our dupes were only eating the freshest barbecue and letting the rest rot away in storage. Obviously I'm not happy with the situation, so let's see what we can do to resolve that little issue. And we're back with the colony. So as you can see at the top here, we have our nicely running electrolyzer setup, which is producing all the oxygen we are going to need and putting it out either directly at the top of the base or what's not currently needed into this storage over there. Which you can already see on the oxygen overlay, since the top of our base is nicely oxygenated. Unfortunately, the pressure gets lower the further down you go, and that's the first thing I would like to rectify. Fortunately, this is easily done. All I need is a gas pipe. Let's go with granite. I have a lot of that. And all I'm going to do is just run a pipe from the top of the base to the very current bottom of the base. And just putting some gas vents on them. I'm going with, let's make them out of gold amalgam due to the increased deco value. And then let's say I'm going to place one just here. Then one up there. And let's say maybe one right there. Yeah. Obviously this needs to be connected to over there. So let's go and just run some pipe over here. Then we are going to need a bridge to get it out of that. And this is also no longer needed subsequently. For the second line, I'm just going to have it running into our living quarters here, since I want those to be extra oxygenated and for something a bit later. For now, I'm just going to place two vents here and here. And once this one here has been dealt with, I'm also going to use a bridge. Once it's and getting an output. That way I can be sure that I'm getting enough oxygen into my base. So while all of that is cooking, there is one more thing that we should rectify, and that is this pip egg here is almost done cooking or incubating, but it doesn't have any space in a ranch yet. So let's build a pip ranch. For that, I'll start with just a very basic setup, like so. Now, this would make a 100 tile room. Unfortunately, a ranch can only be 96 tiles. So I'm going to remove 4 by just placing 2 pneumatic doors there, which will let the gas through, so I won't trap any oxygen or any hydrogen up here. I'm still going to need to make a little modifications here, so and another 2. Yeah. I'm also going to have to delete these here. And then I'm going to add those here at the top and those here at the bottom. Just making sure the middle part is built first and then the rest. And then I'm adding pneumatic doors in here. While all of that is being built, let's actually start with the ranching setup, a grooming station. We're going to need a critter drop-off. And I'm also going to add a storage bin here, which will be somewhat temporarily. And once all of the doors are built, we are actually going to deconstruct them again. Now you may ask, why am I building the doors just to deconstruct them? And you will see this in just a moment. As you can see, something strange happens. When you deconstruct manual airlocks or mechanized airlocks, and they are at the bottom encased in tiles, they will actually turn not into debris, but to the natural corresponding tile, which is a very nice way to get those. Another way would be, for example, taking some sulfur, melting it, and then making it freeze again, or you could just heat some algae until it's hot enough to turn into dirt, which will also form a natural tile. There are a few other ways, but this is the simplest, most straightforward way I know about. But why do I want natural tiles in here? Well, pips are somewhat strange, or have a very useful ability, I should say. They can take seeds of plants and put them into natural tiles, at least if those are not too hard. And then those seeds will directly grow into the corresponding wild plant. Now, wild plants only grow a fourth of the speed than a domesticated one does, but they don't need any fertilizer and they don't need any irrigation. So once the atmosphere is set up and they are planted, you can basically forget about them. They will still produce the materials or the crops they are known for. And that makes for a very low effort farming setup, although with, of course, just 1/4 of the capacity, you could say. Also, there needs to be a bit of a distance between the different plants in a pip farm, since pips have some limitations in how close they can plant. We have also already our pips, so let's set that up. We are going to need the pip script in here. 8 a total, high priority, so this should be done. I'm also not grooming them yet, because they will eat either thimbleweed or arbor trees. But if I feed them thimbleweed, they will turn into cuddle pips, and I don't want those. So I'm waiting for some arbor trees. Unfortunately, I will have to actually get to the neighboring asteroid and do some exploring over there before I unlock them. But for now, I don't need the pips as a food source. I need them as a working force. Another thing I can already prepare is just setting down some ladders, which will become important later on once we have some arbor trees. So that's done. And the pip should also move over quite soon, I suspect. At least once our ranch has time. So, next on the agenda is actually digging out in this space here, because I need to build another ranch in this kind of area, and that means I need to deal with some polluted water, and while I'm at it, might also deal with all of this polluted water here and maybe this over here, which means more space at the bottom of the base, and I will also have to deal with this at some point. So for now, I'm just going to first dig straight down. And since I don't want to deal with that right now, I'm just going to the side here, also digging down. And now I have to excavate this entire part here. But first, actually, let's make sure we don't get any off-gassing slime here. Let's just make... how far can I go? Let's go with not that. 5, and then let's put some tiles around. Also dig that out so the water can flow. And let's make this a high priority so this gets built. And once that is built, I can move the slime over and won't have a problem once this whole thing here drains into this area with the slime off-gassing again. And we have a skill point. I'm thinking Harold, yeah, he gets the farming. Yeah, that's looking good. Now let's just copy over the settings very quickly, deconstruct it, and now the autosweep will already start moving on the content here very, very fast, which should be done in just a moment. Let's actually get rid of these. I don't think I'm going to need these any longer. And now, as I said, I need to drill down here and start excavating the entire thing. I will also like to get some Parko eggs out of that, or in this case, tropical Parko egg or fry egg. Did I actually set this up? Tropical fry egg and... yeah, good fry egg is not there yet, so this is... Parkos have different morphs depending on the temperature they are living in, so... yeah, like some fish species out in real life, actually. So, and now, as I said, I need to just simply dig down here. But before that, let's have a quick look at our printing pot, and let's see what we can get. Copper is always nice. As I said, I'm not really happy with the food supply yet, so I'll leave those tubes out for now. But as I said, now I'm going to need to do a lot of digging. And we're already getting a bit further along, so you can see I've dug out pretty much half of what I planned. Now, while this is all going, a little something that I would actually recommend. This Simmerreed here might overheat at some point, and then you will get this backlogging and your toilet's not working anymore. I had this happen a couple times, and I didn't notice it early enough usually. So I'm going to put a thermosensor right here. And also, where do I have it? An automatic notifier right here. on connecting both with automation wire. Just increasing the priority, so this is built. And then I'm setting this to a warning signal at, let's say, 35 degrees or so. Then I will get notified when this part here is overheating, because this might still be rather cool, but it's pretty toasty around here and down here, primarily due to the metal refinery producing a lot of heat. And now we need to set this up very quickly. So notification, let's call this overheat washroom. This is a warning message. Let's go with really important. Check the plant. Yeah, that's good. We also need to set this up. So let's say when this is above 35 degrees. So now we should get this warning here if this area here gets too warm. So that's this dealt with. There was one more thing I would like to do, and that's putting down a storage bin somewhere where I have some space. Let's just put it here for now. And then let it set to connect or collect all seeds that are lying around, because the Pacus will eat a lot of stuff, but specifically also a lot of seeds. And I find this pretty annoying to lose entire seeds just that way. So let's just make sure every single seed we are dealing with is put in here with a decent priority, and that way we will also start cleaning up our base a tiny bit. So that's already a decent advantage. And why did this not get dug out? Forgot that earlier. So this is all going strong. Let's just make sure this is all accessible. That's also looking quite decent here. Yeah, that's getting along quite nicely. And now let's actually drain this part over here. Is there a plant or something like that? Yeah, there's a plant in there. So, but now it's time to start digging out in this kind of area. Maybe without digging into this whole chlorine here. And of course, without digging into the zombie spores here, I will have to deal with that very, very carefully. But as you can see, the storage area is more or less done. I might actually want to make sure that the metal refinery is still going strong. Although I still have a decent amount of copper, and this should drain first, so let's leave that off for now. Let's just start draining all of this over there. And we're about to hit cycle 100, so we should get our first achievement of today quite soon, actually. So this is all being dug out. We are already getting... let's dig that out too. We are also getting a lot of water already collected down here. We are also... and there is the achievement. Yes, let's have a look. Turn of the century, reach cycle 100. Which can be quite difficult if you are not that good at the game. So, now this is all being dug out, and once we have more or less dug out this kind of area here, we can start planning out our Drecko ranches. But what I can already do is planning out the ladder and fire pole setup at the back, because the Drecko ranches will be closed up on one side, which means that I need a way of my for my tubes to get up and down at the back there. So, and while this is all happening, let's just make sure we are actually getting fire poles here and not ladders, because otherwise it would be a bit annoying. So, and let's have a look. What can we get? Do I want to put even more shine nymphs into my mess hall? I'm not sure I want to do this. Some more food is always nice, because how many are in there? 6. Yeah. Oh, more. 7. Oh, it's getting crazy. Crazy amounts, actually. So it's a wonder my tubes aren't getting any sunburn while they are eating. This is already looking quite good, but let's actually prioritize the building of this part here and the digging of this part here, so we can get going. And we just got our first Paco fillet, so let's make sure we deal with that the same way we did with the meat. No tube is allowed to eat it. Instead, we're turning it directly into seafood, or cooked seafood, which is 60% more calories, which is a lot. And while we're here, let's just make sure it's actually put in the refrigerator, except for the macronutrient bars, since they don't need to be cooled down. So, this base is also almost finished, so let's start building. First of all, I'm seeing quite a bit of polluted oxygen with slime lung, so yeah, let's first add a few deodorizers to deal with that. Just to avoid that little issue. Of course, all of that needs to be powered and should be built as fast as possible. Come on, priority 6, and do that. And we have our seafood. Perfect. So, now we can start building the first few Drecko farms. So what I'm going to need is 3 floors in height and 9 tiles in width, which fits perfectly below this incubator setup. I will also build 2 next to each other, so it fits again very nicely below. Then let's actually make sure this is also built, and the floor is built with the highest priority. Of course, on top of that, I'm going to place some farm tiles. 4 gapped and 4, and then in the next room the same. This one here gets into the gap a little thermosensor. The other doesn't need that. Then we're going to need some pneumatic doors on top of those gaps. Then in the middle, we continue until we reach the top. Airflow at the top there. Then let's go and add a few mesh tiles. I'm actually going to go and use gold amalgam from now on, since it adds to the core value, and I have a lot of that now that I'm digging out the swamp biomes. More than I have copper, even. So that's quite nice. Then this last one here needs to be a normal tile, or should be one. While we're here, let's actually grab a critter drop-off, again out of gold, place them on the side there. Then we're going to need some stations. Let's start with the grooming stations. And then continue with the shearing stations. Let's use granite for those. Those need power, so let's connect them to the top here. This is not reachable. Let's just deconstruct that, then that should become reachable. I'm going to need a conveyor loader. Not there. Come on. Here and here. Then connect this to a conveyor rail and down here, up there. Let's go over here so I'm seeing what's going on. That's looking quite nice. I'm also having to get rid of all of these ladders here. That should all be done right now. Priority. And let's actually make sure this is the first. As I said, I want to get rid of all of this polluted oxygen. Although the slime lungs are dying off since they are too diluted, but there are some corners potentially where they might still thrive. So that's a potential issue I will have to deal with. So, what am I missing? I am missing a ladder. Let's again go for granite on top of those here. Also, let's make sure those are built too. I am missing some power wire for these here and for the future auto sweepers. I am also still missing a few blocks that make this room smaller, because 117 minus those 8 that are already in there is still not the 96 we need for a proper ranch. So I'm just going to place a couple here and then 2 there, and I think the last one has to be a single tile. So let's go with that. Now, if you're wondering why I'm doing this, simply put, I will put some hydrogen in here, and I want my Dreckos to be within the hydrogen as long as possible, since they will only regrow their scales if they are in oxygen. In hydrogen, of course. But the plants below need other gases, so I will have a chlorine or carbon dioxide layer below, depending on what type of plant I'm working with, and above that I will fill this with hydrogen. So all of this is going to be built, and we have our can build our auto sweepers now. One here, one here. We still need to go and get a way up there, so let's place ladders here and one there. That should actually be able... Yeah, that way I should be able to actually reach everything I need. Now with this and the copy I placed down below built, it's time to think about coding. For that I will actually have to prioritize digging a tiny bit, because I need those two Wieswater. So let's quickly get over there. Let's do this in the simplest way I can think of. Just digging my way all the way up to here. And all the way down to... how do I do this? Let's go... This maybe? No, this is not going to work. I need to go down a bit further. And then over there, and then I can dig this one out. Yeah, that's going to work. So, priority is set high enough. That's nice. So, once I have those two, I can start getting the pips to work. Is there a third one anywhere? Oh, there's a vacillator. That's always nice. And we have the Somnium synthesizer down there. That's also nice. Nothing to analyze here though, so not really useful that much right now. I could actually do with a third one for my kitchen setup. Let's see if I can't find another one. I believe there are some over here. Let's do this later on once we have this done. So for now it's important to get this digging done here. So I get those two worth off, and I can also already start planning out the cooling chamber for those. So I'm going to need an insulated chamber over here. Since I'm going with a Pip placed natural or wild Mieswort, I'm going to need to get a natural tile here. Let's make sure this is placed. We have some polluted ice and snow from our digging already. So that's always nice. I suspect, and we are, I suspect, also getting a few more critters soon in there. Let's have a quick look. What can we get? Do I want to... Yeah, why not? Let's squeeze another shine nymph in there. Why not? My dupes aren't blinded well enough, so let's just add them. Hello, why are you... Body temperature too high? Oh, those also produce some heat. Yeah. And this one here was heating up the surroundings. As you can see, this is really, really toasty. It was up to 80 degrees down here. So I added some insulation down there. So now we can get rid of that one. And while this is cooking, let's also add those here at the bottom, just to be on the safe side, or to get ahead a bit. So I'm going to need to enclose this, and like this, yeah, that's hopefully going to work. Yes, we have a Wieswort. We need one Wieswort in here, and one later on down there. For now, we don't want them to be put into this storage here, just this storage there. And let me very quickly prioritize all of this. We are also going to need to get our Pip in here. This is all very temporary. Then a pneumatic door. Yeah, that's going to work quite fine, I suspect. This is all more or less temporary. The most important part is this one here. I want exactly one Wieswort in there, highest priority. And I want one Pip in here, like so. Then let's make sure we're getting one Pip wrangled. Super high priority here. And actually, let's make sure that the Pips can be put back in here, not only the Pips creeps. Come on, higher priority. So that should be done quite soon. Now we have one in here. Let's get it out of the storage bin. Then can we deconstruct the storage bin. This needs to be done before the Pip is moved in here. And we also have the second. That's perfect. That's absolutely perfect. This node should be done. And once I have my Pip in there, I can show you how it works. And now we have the Pip in there, and I believe it's targeting currently the word seed and should... of course, it's not doing that. Come on. Yes, Now it's taking the word seed, put it in there, and you can see now the wild word in there. So let's get the pip out of here. I am also putting the, let's directly put it down here. I am also putting the word from over here into this down here, so I can do the same. And now I have the word in here and can start filling in the rest of this. So first let's make sure I have the same setup at the bottom there. And now with both words in place and the pip back in its proper range, it's time to get some water in here. So let's open this up at the top there. And I'm going to need... wait, I likely won't actually have to open this up because I'm going to use a pump. I can actually use polluted water for that. Shouldn't be an issue. So let's just put the pump down here. Let's hook it up to some wire. Yeah, let's just go up there. I'm going to need a pipe for obvious reasons. And let's just... Wait, what did I do there? Let's just go straight up. And usually I have a pipe for miscellaneous liquids on the side here. Just going all the way up. And for now let's stop there. But I'm going to need a wire going along here and here. And a vent on each end. Yeah, that's looking already quite decent. And now the next step is just waiting until this is built, and I have, as I said, around 5 tons of, in this case, polluted water in here. And then I can continue on with building all of this here. And now with the water coming via the pipes, all that's left is waiting for a bit. And while that is going on, we are almost done with digging this out, so let's dig up into this area here. I'm just going to straight up and trying to divide all of this polluted water away from my area here and just down to the side and into my storage area. And that should actually be enough, so let's get the snipping tool here and disconnect this one here. And pretty soon I should also be able to disconnect it up here. Yeah, that's enough. That's by far enough. I hope I'm not overpressurizing this, but that's looking good. So let's get rid of this pipe and this pipe and also obviously of the vent. And I'm going to have to increase the priority. I'm also, by the way, upgrading my fire poles to gold amalgam due to the increased decor and because I have it. And yeah, why not use it? Especially since I'm getting more of that, and copper is getting a bit rare actually. I have dug out most of the copper I have on this map, or at least in the close vicinity. Minus a few leftovers. So I think I'm switching over to gold for the most part now. So, and what's that in there? Ah, of course, this is the debris. I need to get rid of all of that, obviously. And now it's time to start planning a few more things down here. First, I need an insulated tile here, then a normal tile here, and a normal tile there. I still need some space to get in there, so I'm not fixing or enclosing everything yet. And we have another principle, so let's have a look. What can we get? Oh, some more copper is always a nice thing to have. So I am going to need, first of all, some automation wire, connecting this one here all the way up to this point here. Same on this side. Yeah. And that's what I was afraid of. I'll have to very quickly, come on, as fast as possible. I don't want this to be destroyed. Make sure this can work without any issue. Yeah, okay, we are in the clear again. So we have this set up and okay, this works out quite nicely. Perfect. So now we need a temp shift plate. I'm going to use granite for that, just right in the middle there. And one more right here and right there. We're also going to have to get rid of that water here. Don't want that in there. Once that is in, we're also going to need some pipes, obviously. So let's get that going. I'm going to add a cooling pipe here. And a cooling pipe here. And what I'm going to do is run this all the way along here. And I'm actually going to use... Where do I want the bridge to be? Do I place it here? Let's place it here. Or let's place it in the water where it's the least efficient. So, yeah, that sounds like a good plan. So what I'm essentially doing is just placing a little loop. I still have to fill, by the way, this loop with some polluted oxygen, I just noticed. So let's quickly do that. Just the same as before. Getting the polluted water from down here, shouldn't be any issue there. Now with the internals done, it's time to close everything up. So let's very quickly do that. Highest priority, of course. And let's clean up everything that may find its way in there. We're also going to need some power. Now this is somewhat optional, but I prefer not to having the warning messages of an unpowered mechanized lock door. And then let's put in that mechanized airlock. Again, highest priority, I want this to be built first. And once that is in, let's also get rid of these doors. They are also not anymore needed. And once they are in there, I can build those two granite tiles here. And this is then pretty much done. Also, I need to set up the thermosensors, but that's something for a later episode, I suspect. And the cooling loops are being filled now with water, which is exactly what we want. Once it's completely filled up, it should stop providing more and should just form a continuous loop of, well, looping polluted water, which is used to take the heat from the inside here and put it to the outside over there. Now we can get rid of this pipe and this bridge down here pretty soon. Any second now. Yeah, that should be enough. So this is filled up perfectly fine. Now we can think about finishing this up. First of all, I'm going to remove this one here because I want hydrogen in here, because with hydrogen I get the highest amount of cooling out of those V-swerve here. So for that I am going to... Actually, I'm going to remove these two tiles here too. So I can basically make a little cul-de-sac here and then just fill that from the bottom with, let's make some room there, with hydrogen. That way I can get a decently high pressure in there and I should be able to get everything working. So this one there, then I'm going to need one maybe here, one there. Yeah, that's going to work. But where am I going to get my hydrogen from? Let's first place a hydrogen vent here and there. Let's actually place this a bit at this point. This might be a good idea. So where am I going to get this from? Well, I have hydrogen up here, and I can easily get some more hydrogen out of this loop by just taking it from here. And now I'm going to use a gas pipe. I'm going to go with insulated pipes because this is, again, once I have set this up properly, a pipe where I'm pushing through miscellaneous gases that I'm not entirely sure what temperature they will have. And let's just put a temporary gas bridge here. And yep. And let's connect this up. And after a little while, these two chambers are now completely filled with highly pressurized hydrogen gas. I actually had to move the gas vents a bit down, since I was just getting very overpressurized hydrogen at the top, but not displacement of the oxygen. So with that done, let's just get rid of these pipes here and let's just straightforward delete them. We are not needing them anymore. And once we are done with that, we are sure, okay, there is nothing but hydrogen in there. Come out. Then let's just make sure we are enclosing this again in the corresponding insulated tiles. since my dupes can build through diagonal placed areas like this here. Yep, this we must... Wait, what's this? Ah, okay, this was just a type. Okay. I thought it was the tile that was going to be replaced. That's obviously not what I want. So now all that's left is building those tiles here. And once that's done, I can start building the rest of the wall that's still missing. And I have to be careful that I don't have a dupe waiting in there and doing the construction like this here. That is obviously not what is supposed to happen. Oh, come on. Max, get out there. Yeah, that's looking much better. So and now I'm just working my way up and down this line here. And a little while later, this is now completely finished. I can also replace the supercomputer I removed for a moment. And we have again rotten barbecue. This is still an issue. So we'll have to deal with that in the next episode. But I think this is actually a good point to stop. We have built the infrastructure for our Drecko farm, even with a cooling segment. We still need to set up the proper mixture of gases and a liquid block. But that is something for the next episode. And thus we've reached the end of this episode here. I hope you enjoyed it. I wish you all a nice day and, well, see ya.